We had to get away. I couldn't let her grow up in a home like that.
The train rattled from side to side as it rushed along the tracks. Rain was pouring down the outside of the window, and nothing else could be seen at this time of the night. The heavy rain clouds blocked out the moonlight as the dim lights inside the tram shined against the window, making only the reflection of the young ivory-coloured earth pony visible. His light blue mane was all ruffled up, and his maroon eyes stared at the pony looking back at him. Lance Angelswift couldn't bear to see the mess of a pony he had become. Moving his gaze from the reflection, he focused on the tiny filly by his side.
She deserves so much better.
The pink filly with the straight yellow mane lying next to her brother stirred slightly as the train hit a bump. She moved herself closer to him, trying to keep warm. She was still so young and small. Lance placed a foreleg around her and held her close. Their mother died shortly after the little filly was born. Before she passed, she named her foal Cherry Blossom. Their father was a drunken gambler. He spent all of the family's savings down at the Las Pegasus casinos. With all the family's money gone, Lance was forced by their father to drop out of school and take a job at the local mall. Las Pegasus was a rough place, and after years of working on the till and stacking shelves, Lance heard of a new job opening which offered better bits. It involved working at a casino as security. The city needed as many security guards as possible due to the influx of new ponies coming into the area. Lance Angelswift wasn't exactly the strongest earth pony, but he was determined to work hard. His dream was always to be a guard, but this wasn't what he had in mind. Canterlot. The Royal Guards. That was his goal. Ever since he first got his cutie mark of a shield protecting a classmate at a school from bullies, he knew that's what he wanted to be. Over the years, Lance Angelswift had saved up a small amount of bits and put them aside for himself and his sister. All the rest of the money went to their father as he pissed it away on alcohol and gambling. Cherry Blossom was forced to keep the house tidy and clean. Their father would scream at her otherwise. It killed Lance every night to come home to their father passed out on the sofa, stinking and leaving a mess on the floor. If it was there in the morning, Cherry would get the blame for it. She was only a tiny filly. She should have started school earlier in the year, but their father refused it. She's still young and hasn't gotten her cutie mark yet. Lance feared that his sister would end up with a ball and chain as a cutie mark. He had to work harder, but he was already working 2 jobs, the store and casino security. He was always tired and always hungry. Then in one night, everything changed. Lance came home exhausted after a long day. Some colts had poured toothpaste out onto the bathroom floors and he had to clean it up, making him have to stay later than usual. Upon reaching the front door of his house, he heard a panicked scream from inside. Lance opened the door as quickly as he could, and he heard his sister pleading with their father as he yelled at her.
"How long have you had this?"
Lance hurried over to the bedroom where the shouting was coming from. He peeked in and saw his father, his sister, and a small bag between them. He had found a stockpile of bits that Lance had been saving. Lance kept it hidden in his sister's room, believing it would be safe there, since how often his father would take any possessions from Lance's room. All Cherry had was a cot that was far too small for her and a few old toys from Lance's foalhood. Their father had somehow found the bits that were hidden under the cot. He was shouting at the filly, saying she had been stealing from him. Lance saw their father raise a hoof. He was going to hit her. Lance charged into the room and then jumped on his father. They both struggled, with Lance trying to take the larger earth pony to the ground. Their father stumbled over a bag of bits and fell, crashing into a small cot and hitting his head very hard against it. He wasn't moving. Lance stood over him, and panic filled his soul. He couldn't tell if his father was still breathing or not. The world had frozen in that instant. It felt like forever had passed when Cherry Blossom nuzzled against her big brother's foreleg, her tears soaking into his ivory-coloured coat. He had to be strong. He had to make a choice. Lance gathered up the bag of his bits, packed up only the belongings that were absolutely necessary, and then they fled the house together. He knew exactly where they needed to go. Their mum once had a home in Ponyville which was never sold. He didn't have enough bits for anything more than the train journey, but neither of them could stay there any longer. The rain began to stop outside the train and the clouds started to clear. The Pegasus ponies were up early. The sun had just begun to rise and light shined through a few breaks in the clouds. A small town could be seen below.
That's our new home. That's Ponyville.